everyone, my name is Haley and welcome back or welcome to my channel. So for today's video, I wanted to do a book recommendations video, but put a little twist on it. So I will be recommending books based off of movies that I think have similar synopses. I have 11 book recommendations for you guys today, so without further ado, let's just get into it. I don't have the physical copy of every single book that I will be recommending, but I have read every book I'm recommending and I have seen every movie that I am basing my recommendation off of. They're not gonna be 100% the same, it's just, you know, similar vibes for some of them. Some of them are pretty spot on. My first recommendation is going to be, if you enjoyed the movie Spirited Away, you should read The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axie O. I've recently listened to this book on audio and it was super atmospheric and I just really loved it. And let me tell you the synopsis of the movie and the book and we can see how similar they are. Spirited Away is about this little girl named Chihiro, and her family are driving along and they find an abandoned amusement park. And at the beginning of the movie, her parents are turned into giant pigs and Chihiro is trying to figure out what's going on. Chihiro meets someone named Haku who explains to her that the amusement park is actually a resort for supernatural beings who want to take some time and are a little bit tired of living in the earth realm. And her job is to basically free herself and her parents from this spiritual area. And in The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea, we follow our main character Mina, and she lives in a village that is ravaged by these terrible storms, and in order to stop these storms, the village sacrifices a woman every year to go and be the sea god's bride. And the whole idea behind this is that once the sea god finds his true match, the storms will stop and the village will not be destroyed any longer. And so Mina is not the chosen bride for this year, but she ends up going anyway, and you see how she gets entangled in this spiritual world and how she needs to free herself from it, all the spirits that are there and the adventures that she partakes in. And I just found these two very similar because it is a human who ends up entering a spiritual world, making connections and friends with the spirits there, but also trying to find a way home, because at the end of the day they are still human and they can't stay in the spirit world forever. So if you really enjoyed Spirited Away, I would suggest reading The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea, especially if you listen to the audiobook. Like I mentioned, that's how I did it and I really loved it. Super atmospheric. I was imagining some of the characters from Spirited Away in the book when I was listening to it, and yeah, it was just really good. I really enjoyed it and I think they have a very similar vibe, so I would recommend that as my first book. The next book and movie recommendation I have is, if you enjoyed the movie Tenet, I would suggest reading Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. So Tenet is about a secret agent who is given a single word and his task is to go and try to stop the onset of World War III, but he does it through time travel. That's all I'm gonna say about that. And I would recommend Sea of Tranquility because I don't know if you watched my last video where I read it and I gave my thoughts on it, and the synopsis is in there too, but Sea of Tranquility follows 3 different timelines with 3 different core characters in them, with a single 4th character connecting all of them together through the means of time travel. So again, I don't want to say too much about either the book or the movie because those are very big things to spoil if I say anything else, but they both have a very similar vibe, and if you've seen the movie or read the book and you understand the whole plot, then you'll know why they are pretty similar. But if you enjoyed Tenet and the time travel aspect of it and the mind-bending plot points, I would definitely recommend Sea of Tranquility. It's a pretty short book. It's not confusing. I feel like Tenet could be a little bit confusing, and time travel is the main plot of that book as well, so I would totally recommend both of them if you're into science fiction, time travel, and just a little bit of weird stuff going on. Okay, the next recommendation I have is, if you liked the movie Fresh, I would recommend Tender is the Flesh by Augustina Batsterica. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but this is a horror book and Fresh is a horror movie, and I will let you know what that's about. So Fresh follows this girl who is meeting a guy and starts going on dates with him, and it turns out he is a cannibal. So that's all I'm gonna say about that. Again, don't want to spoil too much. So that's what Fresh is. And Tender is the Flesh is about a sickness had made any animal meat spoiled for consumption, so humans cannot eat any animal meat anymore unless they want to. I think it's like a deathly disease. So the whole world, I guess, has started to farm humans and use their meat as protein instead of animals. So obviously cannibalism is a big part of this book as well, and we follow a main character who kind of struggles with this idea, and you can see how it affects his personal life and his relationship, and just how much the world has changed since this deadly sickness broke out. And I can't say I watch a lot of cannibalism movies or read a lot of cannibalism books, but I do think Fresh is a more kind of comedic, but like it's not a funny movie, it's just, you know, not your typical super scary horror movie. I think it was like more of a horror comedy, but it's not like funny. I don't know. It's just not too scary and too serious. But yes, I think Fresh and Tender is the Flesh are two very good companions to each other if you like that sort of horror, and this book I really love. I think I gave it 4 stars. This book actually really makes you think about like the agriculture industry in the world, and that is a deeper plot than Fresh has. So if you're looking for something that's still, you know, body horror but also gets you thinking, I would definitely pick this up, especially if you liked Fresh. Okay, the next recommendation I have is if you enjoyed the Hunger Games movies, then you should read All of Us Villains by Amanda Foody and Christine Lynn Herman. This is one of my favorite books of all time, and I couldn't recommend the Hunger Games books if you enjoyed the Hunger Games movies. But the Hunger Games, as we all know, is about this world or country called Panem, and they have the Hunger Games, but basically 2 people from every district are chosen to compete in tournament type match to the death, and the sole survivor is the winner of the Hunger Games for that year. So, you know, there's 24 people and only 1 person makes it out, and, you know, there's a lot of death and destruction. All of Us Villains, I would say, is the Hunger Games but with magic. So in All of Us Villains there are 7 families that control the remaining magic in this world, and every generation the blood moon rises and a player from each of the 7 families has to go inside of this blood veil and fight to the death to see which family gets to control the magic for the next generation. So again, tournament style fight to the death game with magic, and the sole winner gets to reap all of the benefits. So if you enjoyed the Hunger Games but you also want a little bit of fantasy rather than dystopian in a book, I would really recommend this. This book was so good. There is a sequel, it's a duology, it's called All of Our Demise. I haven't read it yet, I'm very excited to, but this book is just so good and so well written and definitely reminded me of the Hunger Games when I was reading it. Next we have a romance recommendation, and if you liked the movie Bend It Like Beckham, I would recommend reading Colty by Mariana Zapata. Bend It Like Beckham is a movie about this girl named Jess, and she comes from an Indian family and they are very strict, and her dream is to play soccer professionally, but they don't think it's a good path for her, so she starts going to play in secret and maybe falls for her coach. So that's like the gist of it. It's a pretty long movie, so there's a lot more that happens. Colty follows our main character Sal, and she is a professional soccer player. Her role model was this soccer player named Colty, and her brother also played professionally. But one day when she was younger, Colty and her brother had a scuffle, I guess, like on the field, and now she's hated him since that moment on. But turns out Colty is going to be her team's new coach, and as much as she tells herself she hates him, hate and love are very similar, as we know in these books. So it is an enemies to lovers sports romance. Bend It Like Beckham, they're not enemies, but it is like the same coach and player dynamic. I would say Bend It Like Beckham has more family drama and less coach and player romance. Colty does focus on the romance of the coach and the player, so if you liked Bend It Like Beckham but you wanted to see more romance, I would definitely recommend picking up Colty. Obviously a big soccer aspect in it too. It's a slow burn. I absolutely love this book, and I will always recommend Mariana Zapata's sports romance books, so if you're into that, I would definitely pick it up. The next movie I have is Knives Out. Knives Out is a whodunit mystery with a murder happening in this family's house, and it's trying to figure out who did it. Truly Devious is about this girl named Stevie who gets accepted to Ellingham Academy, and you have to do a big project when you're there, and her project is trying to solve the murder and kidnapping of the founder of Ellingham Academy in the 1920s or 30s, I think, maybe the 40s, I can't remember, sometime then. So it's past and present and her trying to figure out who did it, and there's a whole cast of characters just like Knives Out. You don't know who to trust, just like Knives Out, and of course you find out who the killer is. The Truly Devious series is a lot of fun, and I do like that it is 3 books because, you know, there's things that just keep on popping up, and Knives Out does have the second movie, Glass Onion, so I also liked that they are both a series. If you like a fun murder mystery and, you know, trying to figure out who did it, I would definitely recommend reading the Truly Devious series. It is so much fun, it keeps you on your toes, and they are quick reads. The next one I have, I think it's not, you know, the most exact comparison, but these are one of my favorite movies and one of my favorite books, so I tried to make them connect. But if you enjoyed Scream or any of the Scream movies in the franchise, I would recommend reading The Decagon House Murders by Yukito Ayasuji. So Scream is basically a very popular slasher movie where this masked killer named Ghostface is targeting a group of friends, and you need to figure out who the killer is. Obviously you find out at the end of the movie, but it's always targeting this one group of friends. And the friends can change in each movie, but, you know, it focuses on a core group of people in each movie. And so the Decagon House Murders is about this group of friends in a club called K University Mystery Club, and their whole thing is they love to read mystery novels and write mystery novels, and that's their whole shtick, is, you know, being obsessed with true crime and stuff like that. They decide to take a trip to a notoriously haunted location where a bunch of unsolved murders took place. But while they're there, someone keeps targeting them and we don't know who it is. It gives me the same vibe as Scream because, you know, there's a killer on the loose targeting this group of friends, and you don't know if it's going to be the person that you're sleeping next to or someone that you've never met before. And I just absolutely love this book. I really like Japanese fiction, and Decagon House Murders I think was one of the first Japanese fiction books I really got into, and it's just so good. I loved it so much, so I would definitely recommend to read this if you enjoy Scream. Next, we have another romance recommendation. I am gonna throw in a TV show as well, but if you enjoyed the After movies or Gossip Girl as a TV show, I would recommend reading Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. After is about this super toxic relationship in college between like a good girl and a bad boy, and Gossip Girl is a drama TV show that follows New York City socialites and their life, basically. So Magnolia Parks follows our main character Magnolia Parks and her on again off again boyfriend BJ. They have a super toxic relationship, but there's also a whole cast of characters in here with their friends, and they are London socialites, so that's where the Gossip Girl aspect comes in, and then the toxic relationship aspect is what connects it to After. It's a really fun, drama-filled romance, but also just like friendship type of book. So if you enjoy toxic relationships, will they, won't they, rooting for someone you maybe shouldn't be rooting for, like a found family type of thing, I would definitely recommend Magnolia Parks. So the next one is going to be another romance recommendation, and if you enjoyed the movie The Cutting Edge, I would recommend you read Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. So The Cutting Edge is about a figure skater who wants to compete in the Olympics, but she keeps driving off every partner she has, and then along comes a hockey player who reluctantly teams up with her and they start to pair skate together. I love any hockey, figure skating, romance movie or book and so that is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. So Icebreaker follows our figure skater Anastasia and our hockey player Nathan, and there is something that happens at the beginning of the book that causes both of them to have to share the ice rink, and that's not as easy as it would seem. And since they already are around each other a lot because they are sharing the rink, and Nathan knows how to ice skate, when Anastasia's figure skating partner gets injured, Nate steps up to be her partner and help her out. So figure skater, hockey player, enemies to lovers. I absolutely loved Icebreaker. It is a college sports romance. If you were looking to satisfy your craving for a hockey romance, I would definitely recommend this one. Like, it tickles my brain to have a figure skater and a hockey player come together. So if you enjoyed the cutting edge, I would definitely recommend Icebreaker. The next book that I would recommend is, if you enjoyed the movie Shutter Island, I would read I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. Again, I don't think this comparison is 100%, but they did give me similar feelings as I watched / read these books and movies. So basically, Shutter Island is about this murderer who escapes from an insane asylum, and a detective and his partner come to the hospital to try and solve what happened to her. That's all I'm gonna say. You really can't say more about Shutter Island without spoiling it, so if you've seen it, I would definitely recommend reading I'm Thinking of Ending Things. So this book follows our main character Jake and his girlfriend as they are on their way to meet his parents, and like the dinner that they have with his parents and stuff like that. But it is way deeper than that. There is more to the story than it seems based on the synopsis, and the ending is very, well, I can't say too much, but if you've seen Shutter Island, or if you've read this book and you're trying to do the movie based on the book or the book based on the movie, whatever this recommendation is helping you with, the plot of Shutter Island and I'm Thinking of Ending Things, in terms of when it starts to get a little bit strange, it reminds me of each other. So if you enjoy movies that aren't exactly what they seem, or books that aren't exactly what they seem, I'm Thinking of Ending Things I think is a good comparison. And the last recommendation I have is another romance recommendation. If you enjoyed the movie The Duff, I would recommend reading Tutoring the Player by Rebecca Genshak. I know The Duff is also a book, but can't recommend the same movie and book. So The Duff follows our main characters Bianca and Wesley, and they live next door to each other. Bianca is not very popular, but her friends are pretty popular, and Wesley is boy next door jock type of deal. One day, Wesley tells Bianca that she is the Duff of her friend group, and she doesn't really understand what that means, and it stands for Designated Ugly Fat Friend. And obviously, she was super offended by that, and it causes her a lot of issues in her friendships and stuff, and so she enlists the help of Wesley to change her image and remove her from that title that she now associates with herself, and she strikes him a deal that if he helps her, she will tutor him so that he can pass his classes and stay on the football team. Obviously, by the title of Tutoring the Player, we have our two main characters, Daisy and Jordan. And Jordan is a hockey player, and he asks Daisy to tutor him. And he's the renowned bad boy player, just like Wesley is. And tutoring is how it starts in both the book and the movie, but obviously at the end that's kind of not the point anymore. So if you liked The Duff and you enjoy that bad boy player next door type of vibe, and the good girl who doesn't really care about relationship stuff or players in that way, I would definitely recommend to read Tutoring the Player. When I read Tutoring the Player, it was definitely one of my more liked college sports romance books. There's a lot out there, and some of them aren't the best. I would definitely recommend Tutoring the Player, especially if you enjoyed The Duff. I loved both of them. They both remind me of each other, and it's just a fun time. Those are the recommendations I have. If you enjoyed any of the movies I just talked about, then pick up one of the books I recommended and let me know if you do, and if you also think they are similar. Obviously, this list can be interchangeable. If you enjoyed this book, you can watch the movie I recommended. It doesn't have to be one way or the other, but please let me know if you've read these books and seen these movies, and if you can kind of see where I'm coming from. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, like, subscribe, all of that stuff. Comment down below what else you would like to see from me, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!